Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Those of you that have been watching for a while know that we've been living in Belize a little over 3 years. For those of you that maybe this is the first video that you're watching, welcome. Give you a little bit of backdrop. We moved to Belize about just under 3.5 years ago. Me and my wife have been living in Belize. We've experienced a lot. We've learned a lot. We've shared a lot. And I try to do a lot of informative videos. So if you're thinking about moving to Belize, I'm not talking about vacation, but Belize is a great place to vacation, but I keep kicking the dog. Vacationing in Belize and living in Belize, you're going to see two different sides of Belize. So I try to give a lot of information about that to you guys, so you have a little bit more to research if you're thinking about moving over here, because sometimes things aren't always what they seem, and there is hidden sides to Belize, including to some of the more upscale places that I lived in. I lived in Placencia. I lived in Placencia for over a year, and Placencia is one of the hot spots for tourists. Placencia, Hopkins, San Pedro, Ambrose Cay. Those are probably the three hot spots for tourists. That's where most of tourists go when they hit Belize, and it's sunshine and roses, and everything looks great. But like I said, there is always, always, always a hidden side. I enjoy bringing this information to you. Nothing that I'm bringing you is anything that you can't find out for yourself. You just have to do your research, know which pages to follow, know some people, and of course lived here for a while, which I tell everybody. If you're going to move here to Belize, I definitely recommend that you live in Belize for a while, that you rent, that you don't just buy right out of the gate. So let's get into today's video about the hidden side of Placencia. Placencia is known as the kingdom. That's what they started calling it when I was here. It's the, looks like Millionaire's Row in the Florida Keys and Isla Morada. There's houses that just stick out like sore thumbs. There's barely any beach left because people have just come down and have just built on every ounce of land that they can. And in doing so, they have managed to tear down most of the mangroves and destroy most of the beachfront and the coast. And the locals and a lot of people who have been here for a long time are tired of it, and tempers are starting to roll over. And it's not just in Placencia, it's in Hopkins. There was an incident just in Hopkins. There's been two incidents recently that have, one of them was in San Pedro and one of them was in Cape Caulker. And let me tell you what, I remember watching my small town in Florida be taken over by developers and not caring about the environment and just completely destroying it before it took a lot of legislation to try to recoup the damage that had been done and reset the direction to try to get it back to what it was, but it never went back to what it was. So yes, the locals and the people that have lived here for a long time are getting tired of people coming down here and building these huge houses, and these developers telling people that are spending a lot of money on having houses built that they can just do whatever they want. I'm telling you, that is not the case. You need to know what you're doing before you're building. You need to talk with the city councils, find out about permits, that kind of stuff, or you're going to have backlash. What kind of backlash? Let's watch these videos real quick of what happened in Placencia today so you can get a better idea of the kind of backlash that I'm talking to. Sorry if the camera's kind of in and out wavy. You can see behind me it's overcast, a little bit of rain today, which is nice. We're in the 80s today rather than mid-90s, almost 100. So enjoying that. Let's go ahead and look at these short clips, and then we'll get back in the video.
police stand up for the people. We did stand up as a community. When they tell them to put the rock on the beach, they still put it. Now they tell we can't move the rock, and we must listen to them now.
It's about damn time. Yes, live, we're alive. What happened yesterday, 10 years ago. Anthony Mala, all the way. PUP.
All right, so as you can see from watching these clips, locals and foreigners that have moved here alike are taking it upon themselves to get rid of rocks that have been placed on the beach, and they're having some pushback from the law enforcement, of course, because probably they're getting money from the developer or the person that built the house. I mean, I'm just guessing. That's just what I would feel if they were getting pushback. So you're seeing locals and foreigners alike stand up and are starting to reclaim their beach and start getting rid of all these rocks that have been placed on the beach sign to fight up against erosion. Now, what I can tell you is from living in Placencia for over a year, I was on the lagoon side, but I watched both the lagoon side and the beach side erode probably 3 foot, maybe 4 foot after the hurricane in 2023 that was in November. It did a lot of damage to the coastline, and people just started putting out rocks into the water and on the beach, thinking that that was going to help the problem. That doesn't help the problem. It actually makes the problem worse, because if this person puts out rocks, it starts to erode this beach. And then if this person does it, it starts to erode this one, and on down. It's basically like a domino effect. And you really have to know what you're doing when you're putting out rocks. And as you can see in these clips, the locals are out there and they're just not having it. They want their beaches back. They want the feeling that Placencia used to be back. They want so much back, and they're getting tired. And that's what I'm saying that you need to be careful of when you're building in places like this, because you know you're dealing with people who are watching their beaches, their land be destroyed in the name of progress, and they're not getting any help. They're getting pushback from law enforcement and maybe their city councils, and maybe no one's just listening to them, and they're fed up. And that can be a really, really dangerous situation. That can be a really dangerous situation to get yourself in. So I'm not saying not to move to Placencia. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying you need to do your research of what you can and you cannot do when you're building, because you don't want to be put in this predicament and already have 2 or 3 red strikes against you, and every time somebody walks by your property, they're going to point you out and be like, yeah, that's a property that we had to go remove rocks from because, you know, the developer or they just figured that they can do whatever they want. And let me tell you what, some of the people that come to Belize, man, their entitlement blows my mind. I'm happy that I left Placencia. Placencia was not for me, not my kind of people, not my vibe. That's one of the reasons why I moved out of Florida and went more inland, because I got tired of watching the area that I grew up in be destroyed. So you have to be aware of what's going on. And like I said, this is the hidden side. This is the side that you probably won't see if you just come here on vacation. but this is the day-to-day side. This stuff is going on daily in Belize. The locals in Belize are getting tired of watching their lands be stripped from them, sold out from underneath of them, not having access to beaches, just a plethora of things the locals and the people that have been here for a long time are tired of. I can tell you one of the things that got under my skin living in Placencia was watching all the mangroves be destroyed. And I'm not going to mention names, but there's some high-end restaurants and stuff that, you know, people go to every single day. And when you're, like I said, when you're here on vacation, you know, you go to these establishments, you spend a little bit of money, everything seems fine, but you don't see what was going on behind the scenes. Tearing down a bunch of mangroves to be able to put up your floating restaurants, or be able to build your restaurant or your establishment back on the lagoon side. And, you know, just watching people constantly complain about it, and the fact that there's supposed to be serious heavy penalties for doing this, and never watching anything get done. I grew up with the same thing. I grew up watching a developer. We had these huge old oak trees where I grew up in Florida. And there was a developer that was coming in to build an apartment complex. And he was told that he could not tear down these huge oak trees. And if he did, there was going to be a severe fine. And I mean, it was like $50,000 per tree. This developer had so much money, he didn't care, man. He cut these things down and they fell. He didn't care. He went ahead and paid the $50,000 per tree fine, and ruined an entire area of history for a lot of the people that have lived there. And that's pretty much what's going on in areas. So please, if you're thinking about moving to Belize in the high tourist areas, you have to, I'm letting you know that people are tired of what's going on. Belize has become too big, too fast. Everybody knows about it now. Everybody's heard about it. Everybody's rushing in here to spend money and build, and they're killing everything in the process. And the locals are tired of it, and so are a lot of foreign nationals that have been here for a long time. So, that being said, once again, you have to know what you're getting into. Don't take it from me. Do your research. There's lots that has been going on here in Belize with real estate companies, with you know, realtors that might have been in shady deals. Or just you really have to do your research. I keep telling people, do your research. The information is right there for you to grab, and I want to make sure that you guys have it, because like in these clips, you don't want to be that person that maybe just built either a house or an Airbnb, or can you imagine having guests in there or living there? I wouldn't want to do that, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. So be mindful, do your research, don't rush into it. Talk to all the people, and I've said this before, talk to all the people that live in that area. Find out what is going on from them. You're going to find more information from the streets and your local bar than you will just listen to a realtor. And I've said this time and time again. Do your own research. Protect yourself. Don't fall into this category. These are the hidden sides of Belize that they don't want you to know, because they don't want the money to stop. But if you're going to live here, this is what you're going to be up against. So take it to heart or don't take it to heart. Do your research. Thanks for watching the channel. I got a lot more videos coming out for you guys. Have a great week.